This map is called Stephen F. Austin's Map of Texas. Left corner is higher. And we're really excited to have it at Cushing Library. The case it is in is a custom-made case. The case was made by Gopion, who's a wildly important Italian casemaker. They did the framing and casing for the Mona Lisa. They also did all of the display and casing work for the crown jewels. This is a wildly important map in Texas history. There's a number of things that lead to the rarity of it. First is just scarcity. The map was printed in several editions, 1830 being the first. And we actually don't have a number of how many maps were printed when it was printed. And there's never been a census actually done of how many still exist. Through my own research and working with my co-curator of the Texas collection, we've been able to identify about 10 copies in institutional holdings. These are libraries and museums in North America. We're also aware of one in the major Texas museum in Germany. And then we know of a couple that are in private collections. So on that front, it's just hard to get your hands on. And when you think about a map like this, once it goes into a collection, such as an institutional one, it's unlikely to leave. You've bought it to make it available to the public. This is one of those pieces that kind of speaks to the heart of these really important landmark pieces in the collection that we would not be able to have if it wasn't for donors and former students who really care about seeing this sort of research material available at the university. We're good. He's in.
In 1830, when this map was released, life in Texas was obviously very primitive compared to the way we see it. Texas was a land teeming with natural resources that were largely untapped. There wouldn't have been a lot of settled towns. Some of the places that would have been called towns in that map, you might barely call a village today.
Something to keep in mind is at this point, Texas is still a part of Mexico. And in the production of this map, Austin had one very firm command of what he was supposed to do in exchange for having his land grant, which was a very large chunk of land in central Texas. He needed to map Texas in return for the Mexican government. And so what Austin had done in creating this map was he, being unable to fully canvass all of Texas, solicited hand-drawn maps from kind of his counterparts around the state. He also worked with a general from Mexico who'd done some mapping of Texas also. And so Austin really did have a hand in laying out every line and river and just the etching of every community and road that ended up on the final map.
He's clearly so attentive to timber, to navigable streams. He's attentive to wild buffalo herds or wild horse herds. He's attentive to forest and swamps. He's clearly trying to sell Texas. He's offering Texas to anyone who will look at this map as there's a little bit here for all of you.
When I look at this map, which is pre-Texas as Texas, it does really start leading into this strong identity that Texas has for itself.
I think this map is a very direct representation of who Stephen F. Austin was. The magnification that you see is Texas. It's not the United States, and that, in a way, reflects Austin's, I think, primary motivation, this almost missionary zeal that he has for Texas.